Speaker of the House, McCarthy.
All right. So, my hot take. I've seen a lot of vitriol from conservatives about McCarthy, and I'm one of you. I think he's a swamp rat. If you did, I think, based on some of the articles I've been reading, if you dig into the concessions that McCarthy had to make in order to get the votes,
Yep.
the Rules Committee was a big one where they held out for 3 seats in the Rules Committee, which gives them a majority. I'm sorry, let me back up. The people holding out, which is the Freedom Caucus.
Yep.
Which is a faction within the Republican Party, for those of you who don't know. That group of people that were holdouts, I think it ranged anywhere from 11, he was minus 11 votes, all the way up to maybe 20, right around there, and then back down. The concessions that McCarthy had to make in order to gain their votes were placement in positions in these very important House committees that are going to be making all of the stuff that even makes it to the floor. Which I see that as very strategically a good thing.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That these placements, these holdouts, to get these placements within these committees are going to be able to control McCarthy, control the swamp rat. So yes, point 1 is McCarthy is a swamp rat, in my opinion.
Yep.
Point 2 is let's not be tearing up the Patriots, the Freedom Caucus that you say, or you may say, or other people say that have buckled to McCarthy to give him the speakership, but look at what they got for it.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the provisions that they pushed that they got. Well, first let's back up for anyone who's not familiar, and you might not be, even though it took 15 vote rounds to get through, which sounds crazy, but it was a process I think that was worthwhile to go through. If we go back in the Wayback Machine and go back in time somewhat, the Freedom Caucus went and spoke with McCarthy to try to work out a deal with him. This is how politics works. Mm-hmm. It's lots of deals, lots of brokering of just arrangements, and wanted to get some of these things, concessions and things, move forward. And McCarthy was so convinced that there was going to be the huge red wave that he basically told them, I don't need you guys. Just screw off. And then that didn't happen. And then suddenly, he was forced to come back to make some of these concessions to get their support. Now, that might sound like that's dirty politics, but that's politics. That's how it happens. Some of those other provisions that they got was it's got a term, I can't remember the term, but it only requires a single vote on the floor now to bring up a recall vote for the speakership. Nice. So if he gets out of line too much, it only takes one person to basically request a do-over, and then we'll be hitting 16,
so this
16,
whole thing
17.
Basically neutered.
It neutered that ability. Nancy Pelosi got rid of that provision, or basically watered it down to make sure that she could never be challenged as speaker.
I like it.
So another thing, that a concession they got is a demand, or a requirement, I should put, that term limit legislation will be brought to the floor. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. I mean, let's face it.
But they're going to talk about it.
But they're going to talk about it.
And we'll get to see that.
And we'll get to see that, and we'll get to see who supports it and who doesn't.
Right.
So
I was just going to point out there, if we would have had the red wave that everybody was prophesying for, McCarthy would have got in probably on first try.
Yep, first try.
Wouldn't have had to concede diddly squat.
Yep.
And we would have the same rhino swampland that we've had forever. So this whole process I see as a good thing.
Overall, yes.
Very good thing.
Overall, it's a good thing because we ended up with the same person that we would have ended up with anyway.
That's right.
But now we've ended up with him plus some good things with it.
That's right.
So
that we would have never had.
With
a wave.
Yep.
You had what, 35 more. 35
more. If they would have picked
House
up
members.
those 35 House seats that they were forecasting, would have never happened. And you could make the argument, well, it'd still be better because we'd have a stronger foothold. Okay, all that, there's some truth to that as well. But the process worked.
I don't know about you, but I don't want anything in Congress to be bam, bam, thank you, ma'am, no, in and out. I want it to be a slow grinding, easy to disrail process, so that it's so that we're not driven by emotion, like
Yes.
emotional choices.
Exactly. The entire government was supposed to be structured in such a way that there was always checks and balances
Right.
to make sure that there weren't any crazy swings one way or another. We're supposed to have, at the end of the day, a centrist direction government.
Where
It shouldn't swing too far right or too far left. And that's because it's supposed to be a government of the people, and the people kind of come in two kind of camps. And there's a range, but the reality is the middle direction is what most people can tolerate,
Right.
and that's what it should be. And the process worked. It's messy. This was a horribly messy
It was.
process, but I'm glad.
I am
Because
also,
to your point, if it, the stuff that just happens turnkey, just boom, like the omnibus bill,
Right.
4,000 plus pages of legislation, 1.8 trillion dollars of additional spending, which, by the way, we don't have that money, so it's just 1.8 trillion dollars more deficit.
just print it, Craig.
Yeah, you're right. What could go
It's
wrong?
no big deal.
What could go wrong?
No big deal.
So anyway, with McCarthy, I think we're both in agreement. I think
yeah, absolutely.
We think it's a good thing overall.
Absolutely.
I hope you've enjoyed this clip from the Craig's Gun Channel Random Shots program. The program airs Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. On Random Shots, we discuss content ranging anything from preparedness, survival, politics, firearms, basically anything that's 2A related, with sometimes some rabbit trails on things that aren't related at all. If you enjoy this type of programming, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when we release new content. And if you like it, hit the like button and share us if you would as well. It helps the algorithm and helps the channel grow and helps get our message out. So I guess until next time, stay safe.